We want to bring in Joe Khalil. He is on Capitol Hill. He's got new reaction from lawmakers now. Good morning, Joe.
Yeah, Mitch, good morning. So I'll sort of pick up where Allison was talking about, which is that we are waiting now to see what lawmakers are saying. There is a very important duty that lawmakers have when it comes to oversight, and specifically the House Oversight Committee does have a very specific FAA subcommittee, so they have to go over that and see what is going on. Now, just a little while ago, we were able to catch up with Steve Scalise. He is now the House Majority Leader. It was on his mind, too, and we talked to him about it, asked him a couple of questions. He told us, frankly, that Congress is still being briefed. This is still obviously developing, so they don't have all the facts either. But what they do know is that this is going to require serious investigation, serious oversight, potentially with some hearings eventually, where you're going to see some officials from the FAA and others brought in and be forced to answer questions about this. That is the impression that I was left with after speaking with House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, and we do, I believe, have a bit of the interview that we did with him. So I want to go ahead and play that right now.
Well, incompetence is not an excuse to increase regulation. You got to go fix the problem, because at the end of the day, if you've got a referee out on the field and the players can't perform, you get rid of the players. You don't add more rules to the rule book. And frankly, I think the rules already are making it harder for people to do their job. But there's some people that aren't up to the job, and that's the problem we have right now. And I think the Secretary's got some tough questions to answer. We're going to be bringing him in and asking those questions. And frankly, I think a lot of people across America are going to be watching because they're being hurt by the incompetence we're seeing over at the Department of Transportation.
And just some overall context here, I want to explain the framing of the questions that we asked Congressman Scalise was that, look, over the last maybe decade or so, regulation of the airline industry has sort of been cut back a bit. So I was asking whether or not with this FAA situation that we have today, along with you look at what happened over the last couple of weeks with delays and Southwest specifically, is it time for Congress to do more than just investigate, but potentially to consider some new laws, some legislation, potentially some more regulation? And his response was that he doesn't think that that is the answer. Now, that's one person. Obviously, he's a very high-ranking member of Congress, and so you imagine that some others sort of have that same view. But in his view, he does not feel like Congress has a role to step in and at least add new rules, new regulations to try to fix some of the things that we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks. Again, I do want to stress that in real time right now, these members of Congress, even at the highest levels, are still getting information just as we are, as this situation is developing and as this ground stop is being lifted currently. So that is where we are right now. We're going to continue to hammer our sources, guys, especially those who are on the subcommittee that oversees the FAA, to see what they are hearing about this as well. But certainly, I think over the next couple of days, you are going to see some serious talk about investigations, and you're going to hear who may potentially have to come before Congress and answer questions as to why this is now happening on a nationwide level, guys.
Well, yeah, Joe, let me clarify here. What I just heard the House Majority Leader say is that they don't need any more rules. They just need to pull Pete Buttigieg in front of Congress to tell him he's doing a poor job and make him answer questions as opposed to, I don't know, fixing the problem. Did he have any idea about what they need to do to fix the problem, or did he just want to ask questions?
Yeah, so obviously, if you ask a Republican, you're going to get, a partisan response. If you ask a Democrat, you're going to get a partisan response. So in some ways, that was what we're hearing. But again, in the context, Mitch, I was asking whether, beyond oversight and beyond investigating, is there anything that Congress should be doing in terms of changing rules, changing the laws, changing how these things operate, and potentially adding more regulation? So it was in that context that Majority Leader Steve Scalise was answering that question. He doesn't think that Congress needs to be changing any rules. He, as you heard there, the metaphor to the referee, saying you don't need to, impose more on the airlines specifically, but he was calling for just further, investigation and probing. And, to be fair to the Majority Leader, that is an important function of Congress, is oversight. So Congress eventually looking into this. But yeah, my question was just, okay, you're going to investigate it. Wonderful. Beyond that, is there any actionable things that Congress can do or at least consider? And, again, this is still developing, but right now the impression that we're getting is not at the moment.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.